Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is the recording for our next lecture. The title for this lecture is Management Process of Leading from the Islamic Perspective. So this is meant for this subject, Islamic Management, AAM2153. The expected outcomes of the chapter. At the end of the chapter, students should be able to, number one, understand the meaning of leadership and roles of leaders. Number two, students should be able to comprehend the concept of leadership in organization. Number three, explain the Islamic perspective on leadership. And the last one is, students should be able to differentiate three important elements in corporate leadership, which are humility, responsibility, and accountability. So, in the previous lectures, we have learned two important functions of management, which are planning and decision making. And then we also learned about organizing. Planning is the stage where leaders or managers and workers in any organization determined courses of action in anything that they do in any businesses in organization. And then the second step or the second function is organizing, whereby leaders or managers or workers coordinate all activities and resources that they have to achieve the targets or the objectives of the organization. In this lecture, inshallah, we will learn the third function, which is leading. And in this function, we will look into how leaders, how workers learn or do the process of managing and motivating others at the workplace. Now we move on to definitions of leadership. There are almost as many definitions of leadership as there are persons who have attempted to define the concept. It means that every single theorist or every single scholars might came with their own ideas, with their own perceptions and definitions of leadership. While there is general agreement that leadership is an influential process, there is less agreement on whether, number one, the definition must refer only to influence by those who occupy a position, such as CEO, chairman, or president of the organization. Number two, the influence must be exercised deliberately and for the specific attainment of the group or organization's goal. And number three, the compliance of others must be voluntary. And these are based on Heath, Black and Potter in 2015. However, other scholars had defined leadership in their perspectives based on their research or based on their experience or knowledge, okay, as what here, okay, what I can share here, a definition by one of the scholars in management, Coulter, Robbins and Coulter. They said that leader is someone who can influence others and who has managerial authority. So in this sense, they define the leader as someone who can influence others, and in the same time they have managerial authority. Leadership is a process of leading a group and influencing that group to achieve its goals. Other scholars like Rafiq Bikun, they also defined leadership in their ways. So Rafiq Bikun once said in one of his writings, leadership may be defined as the act of influencing others to work toward a goal. Leaders, different with the previous definition by Robbins and Coulter, they said here, Rafiq Bikun said that leaders exist at all levels of an organization. It doesn't mean that it is only related to those who we call as having managerial authority here, but also leaders could be among the low level or the low rank workers in an organization. So here it is stated clearer, okay, where some leaders hold a position of authority and may use the power that comes from their position as well as their personal power to influence others, and they are called formal leaders. So those who have authority, those who have power, those who have rank, those who have position, managerial position especially, so they are called formal leaders. But in contrast, we also have what we call as informal leaders, and those are without a formal position of authority within the organization, but demonstrate leadership by influencing others through personal forms of power. So this might not be those who have the authority, the rank authority, the managerial authority. So they might be those who are among the workers. They shown what we call as, they demonstrated what we call as the leadership through personal forms of power. They have the capability, they have the personal capacity to influence others. So these are the informal leaders. One requirement is important here. Leaders do not rely on the use of force to influence people. Instead, people willingly adopt the leader's goal as their own goal. If a person is relying on force and punishment, so the person is not a leader, but they merely a dictator. We move to leaders and leadership. Here, anyone can exhibit acts of leadership behavior in an organization, and these acts are not limited only to the persons holding designated leadership positions. Thus, leadership must not be thought as coming from people in the top position alone. Leadership can be seen in the first line supervisor who inspires the subordinates, the workers, to increase their attention to safety procedure to avoid production downtime. This is as an example. So it doesn't mean that those with high rank position called leader. It is also with leadership is also with the first line supervisor who could inspire the other workers to follow the procedure, to follow the process of job and so on in order to achieve the organizational goals. And then the group member who champions his team's new product and convinces others of its potential is also demonstrating his leadership. The resource manager makes sure his staff treats one another with equal respect, as such equity shows leadership. Workers who set examples by continually seeking ways to improve processes and working conditions for their co-workers are also exhibiting leadership. And this mentioned by Heath, Black and Potter. In normal circumstances, in normal conditions, people in the supervisory and managerial categories have more chances to influence others. People act as leaders to attain their organization's goal. The use of force or coercion in gaining compliance among the followers is usually not taken as leadership. Effective leadership influences a group or organization in achieving successfully and meet its goal and objectives. The leadership acts as an extra ingredient to the sum of efforts of many people and assists the organization to achieve or accomplish more than the normal achievement. So it means that they try to achieve more than the par value. We move on to theories of leadership, and I will only talk about this subsection short, alright? Because this subject, okay, is also offered by the faculty, inshallah, and you can have a good reading about theories of leadership later. So talking about theories of leadership, people have been interested in leadership since they started coming together in groups to accomplish goals. However, it was not until the early part of the 20th century that researchers actually began to study leadership. These early leadership theories focused on the leader with leadership trait theories and how the leader interacted with his or her group members. And this is leadership behavior theories. So here we have what we call as trait theories and also behavior theories. So if you can Google by yourselves, there are several leadership theories, and among those who are famous and have been made as references by practitioners or academics, among it are great man theory, trait theory, contingency theory, situational theory, and behavioral theory. And you can watch the explanation about these leadership theories through the website that through the YouTube URL that I shared here. And there are many more resources that you can have a look by yourselves related to leadership theories. We move on to leading from the Islamic perspective, or leadership from the perspective of Islam. From our religion's perspective, the Muslim leader must take into consideration the guidelines in the Quran and Sunnah. To Allah belongs everything: honor, power, reputation, authority, and all things are subject to his will. Man's duty is to work hard and act as a leader to influence others to follow him. Thus, we must motivate other people to follow the right track so that the target of the organization or the target of us in our own institution or community can be reached. Leadership here means to show the way, direct and influence others. In other words, leadership is the ability to show the way and to guide, to direct or to influence the actions of others. In corporate management, leaders have to accomplish their objectives. Organizational cultures and members are influenced by the leadership of an organization. Leaders are considered as role models, and their behavior is reflected on the culture and procedures of the organization. In the Islamic management model, leaders have to surrender their authority to the instructions consecrated in the Quran and Sunnah. Authority is the power to command, give orders, make decisions, and exact obedience. So, in the proposed model, leaders agree to forego such privileges to the instructions of Islam. This surrender inculcates three important elements in any corporate leadership. Number 1, humility. Number 2, responsibility. And number 3, accountability. Let us look into one by one of these three important elements in corporate leadership. First is humility. Humility here refers to the attitude of not being proud and always seeking Allah's help to communicate the message clearly and with confidence to the people. That is what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did, as mentioned in the Al-Quran. It is the complete sense of humbleness that overcomes one who is totally submitted to the will of God, the Almighty. Humility is when a person does not see himself as being better or above other people because of frivolous reasons like social standing, education, citizenship, or even color. As for believing one is better than another person due to religious reasons, then in some cases this is permissible, and in other cases it's an obligation. For example, Muslims should believe Allah has given him izzah over the kafir. This has been established in Al-Quran in many places. As Allah says in Al-Quran, and to Allah belongs all honor, izzah, and to his messenger, and to the believers. And in another verse, Allah says, God created human being to worship him, and a practicing Muslims in essence should be able to worship God in every second of every hour of every day. Islam is a way of life, and it means nothing more or less than submission to the one God. And Allah says, and I, God, created not the jinn and humans except They should worship me alone. The second element is responsibility. Responsibility is the force that binds the causes of action demanded by the leadership position. Leaders should know their responsibilities, their targets, what they need to do to get which rewards, and what the consequences would be if they make mistakes. Just as in the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, at first, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not agree with him with the terms in the agreement. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it due to his leadership, and in the end, his companions agreed with his decision. All turned out to be good and well. A leader is held accountable for his decisions and actions because he accepts the prerogative to lead. He has to deliver all the elements of his responsibility in his leadership. So leaders that emerged as the best in history were those who knew that they were accountable in service to their followers. Next is accountability. Accountability conveys an image of trustworthiness. It is both an instrument and a goal. What started as an instrument to enhance effectiveness and efficiency has gradually become a goal in itself. Accountability has become an icon for good leadership performance, both in the public and also in private sectors. Islamic teachings categorically explain the concept of accountability in this subsequent verse of the Quran. As Allah stated in one of the ayat, then shall anyone who has done an atom's way of good see it, and anyone who has done an atom's way of evil shall see it. This is in Surah Al-Zalzalah, ayat number 7 to number 8. And then Allah also said that, nor can a bearer of burden bear another's burden. If one heavily laden should call another to bear his load, not the least portion of it can be carried by the other, even though he is closely related to it. And then accountability in this very broad sense is basically used to positively influence a state of affairs or the performance of a leader. It comes close to responsiveness, a sense of responsibility, and a willingness to act in a righteous manner. In Islam, a leader is like a follower. Both are responsible for all his deeds in the hereafter. So with that, thank you very much, and I hope that you can read more about the management process of leading in our textbook. And inshallah, after this lecture or this chapter, we will learn the last part of management process, which is controlling. And after that, it will complete all the 4 processes that we have, the 4 elements that we have in management process, starting from planning, organizing, followed by leading, as what we have discussed in this chapter. And last but not least, controlling. Wallahu alam bisawab. Thank you very much.